just doesn't make sense because they're in Pennsylvania. Gossip Girl made sense because look at the location and the
Right.
lifestyle those characters were living. So if Blair's wearing stilettos and Serena's wearing the heel, okay, but you're in Pennsylvania in high school. We're always wearing the heels within their houses. Like
Yes.
Hannah will
Ugh.
be in her kitchen and she's like fully dressed with the heel on. Nobody's
Yeah.
wearing the heel in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? You get home, you take the shoes off. It's just not
Yeah.
happening.
Welcome to Stan, the podcast where we dissect our enthusiastic and at times obsessive relationships with cultural phenomena. I mean, have you ever caught yourself unironically insisting that it's not just a phase? Or stayed up all night to finish that book that you just can't put down? Or have you ever had such a huge crush on a celebrity that it made your heart physically ache? I have. So join me as we figure out why certain things or people capture our attention and affection so well. I'm really happy that you're here. Never trust a pretty girl with an ugly secret. That's right, we are critiquing the ridiculous twists and turns of the iconic show that launched the careers of Ashley Benson, Lucy Hale, Shay Mitchell, and Troyan Belisario. A little aside. If you're watching this, you might notice my glowing microphone. They encouraged me to get this microphone because they, in a very kind way, told me that I needed to sort my audio out. They bought me this microphone in Hong Kong, Circuit City. I don't know what it was. I plug it in. Lo and behold, she glows like the Northern Lights. And I don't know how to stop her, and I don't wish to. Almost like she is a real diva. At the same time, it is kind of inappropriate and it's not good for continuity. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. Pretty Little Liars was a teen drama series that began in 2010. It followed 4 high school friends after the mysterious death of their best friend, Allie. The year prior, they woke up the morning of a sleepover and she had gone missing. Allie was notoriously trouble and weirdly embroiled in everybody's drama, so they assumed she was in hiding or playing some sort of game rather than in actual danger. But in the first episode, the police retrieve her body, convincing all the girls she actually is dead. However, at the funeral, they start getting these anonymous messages from someone called A. A is the medium through which we learn that the girls are all hiding things. Their sexuality, financial insecurity, inappropriate relationships, and substance abuse. The series follows the surviving friends as they try to solve the mystery of their friend Allie's death. Similarly to Gossip Girl, a lot of the plot is driven either by the secrets that A releases or threatens to release as they try to uncover the identity of their stalker. As we speak about a lot in this episode, as the seasons progress, it seems that the writers just kind of fucking lose the plot. The series ran for 7 seasons and had to consistently build suspense and create twists and turns. It seems like the writers just kind of ran out of plausible ideas and started to make it just as insane as possible. They went back on storylines and created some outlandish ones. Spoilers present, please skip now if you're worried about it. Throughout the season, 15 different characters were revealed as A. If you were here for our Gossip Girl discussion and thought it was ridiculous, hold on to your hats. There are secret siblings, evil twins separated at birth, people faking their deaths, setting fire to each other's houses, and kidnapping each other to keep them as real-life dolls in a secret underground bunker in the woods. Despite the batshit insane storylines, people still loved it. It ran for 7 seasons with 161 episodes, averaging 2 million viewers for most of its run. The fact that the audience for this was so huge and it had such a big influence on people's lives makes me feel like there's something that I need to say. It's uncharacteristically serious, so bear with me. Throughout the series, writers encouraged fans to romanticize a relationship between a high school student and a predatory teacher. I don't know who needs to hear this. Teen girlies, if you're listening, being with someone older is not a flex. However mature you consider yourself to be at your age, that older man is not your soulmate. At best, he is someone who cannot take women his own age seriously. And an obsession with youth and all the things that are associated with it, like financial or emotional control, are not the basis of a healthy relationship. I say this with no judgment. You are not the exception. Age gap relationships are taboo for a reason. Teacher-student relationships are taboo for a reason, and that reason is to protect you. Step away from the older man. Again, the age gap relationship is something that is quite present in teen dramas like Gossip Girl and Vampire Diaries. However, there are a lot of them in Pretty Little Liars. In fact, without giving anything away, it's woven into the overarching fabric of the story and forms the basis of how some of these characters know each other. This was something that we spoke about a lot in today's interview. The guests are Alyssa Daly and Michelle Rubenstein. They are teen drama aficionados, and they run their own podcast network called Total Betty Podcasts, doing spoiler-free recaps of all of your faves. The OC, Friday Night Lights, and Gossip Girl. Right now, they're on season 4 of Pretty Little Liars. They dissect every episode for you to watch right along with them. For that reason, they were so well placed to humorously and knowledgeably talk about the themes of the series and lovingly tease the storylines. These women are true fan women and a testament to using popular culture to create safe spaces for listeners. We talk about the importance of community, how to have healthy stan/fangirl relationships without overstepping, and why we're all so drawn to the teen drama genre. Anyone who pretends they're above it, I don't trust you and I don't believe you. And you're not invited to my next Vampire Diaries sleepover. Anyway, without further ado, here's our conversation. 'Cause two can keep a secret
if one of them is dead. Well, hi, I'm Michelle Rubenstein.
And I'm Alyssa Daly. And we're Total Betty Podcast Network.
Yeah, we produce and host shows on your favorite nostalgic teen dramas. We do recap episodes, spoiler free. And the premise of our show and how we operate is usually one of us has not seen the series that we are currently covering. So that is the twist to how we run things here.
The newbie perspective of making predictions.
I just read Wuthering Heights for the first time, and obviously all of the stuff about the new Wuthering Heights movie that's coming out, I think, this year. And there was a huge backlash from people being like, this is everybody's favorite novel and you're ruining it. And I was like, is it everybody's favorite novel? Because I've never read it.
News to me.
I'm going to be honest with you. My co-host that I do Movie Friends podcast with, he actually just approached me about this and he's like, hey, Wuthering Heights is coming out next month, like around Valentine's Day. And I was like, what's Wuthering Heights? I've never even heard of this movie or book or story. I have no clue. He's like, all right, well, if you happen to go see it, you'll jump on the episode with us. And I was like, I probably won't. So
she knows what she likes, and it's not Wuthering Heights, okay? I'm having that feeling of reading a book or watching a TV show for the first time and being like, I want to talk about it. Like, I want to, and it's so cathartic. And especially with the fact that we have no community in our society these days, I'm like, this is what we're supposed to be bonding over rather than like AI slop that is subjectively fed to you through your very individual news feed. You want to be able to experience those things together. But how did you miss Pretty Little Liars because it was quite the phenomenon in its time.
Yeah, Michelle, how did you miss it?
Well, it was 2010 when it came out, and I was just in a different headspace. I was watching Mad Men, I was watching Dexter, and Liz and our good friend Ingrid would get together and watch the series, and I just was never a part of that. And I don't even know why, Liz, why I didn't join you guys. Did I just not have an interest?
Well, I also think we were so frustrated with the show as we continued that we said to Michelle, please don't ever start this show. It's so frustrating. We can't, they won't tell us anything. So we essentially hate watched it. It was a group of my family and friends, and we all got to, if we didn't have each other, I don't think I would have continued the show. It was a hard, hard no.
I had a similar conversation, I guess, about Gossip Girl when they hit a moneymaker. They were like, and we're going to make 30 seasons of this. And I guess the writers who did the first seasons were just exhausted by the end. And then it kind of sours the fandom friendship, I think. Like, as you said, you were hate watching it by the end. As that was an era of TV where people could post their theories on Reddit or express their distaste or express their like love for a certain relationship or whatever, and then the writers would have to lean into that. But it just puts a huge amount of pressure on the people who are doing all of the stuff behind it.
Yeah, because I feel like this is one of the first shows that I watched back in the day in which I was a little bit too old to be watching this show. I was like a junior in college at this point. But I remember being on the Reddit and the forums and on IMDb, those pages, and for the first time I really remember people tweeting and saying their thoughts and feelings, and then in a couple of weeks the trajectory of the show was changing a little bit, and it just, to watch that in real time, it's actually really sad to watch that, because I feel maybe that wasn't the natural progression for the show, but the writers felt like they needed to do that because the fandoms were so loud.
Yeah, the fandom relationship is a very difficult one because it's like another body. You've got to respond to the studios, but you've also got to respond to the fans. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched Love Island in England, but the premise of the show is that it's every single day. And you have to decide at the beginning of the summer, like whether you're going to commit to watching Love Island like every single night for the rest of the summer, because you can't miss a day. And it becomes less about the show and more about the memes and the remixes and the reels and the TikToks and like the online discourse. I mean, because we no longer have, you tune in one week where at 7 p.m. they're going to drop the new episode, and then you go back to school or college or work the next day and you discuss it. It was so nice to have that feeling of like communal watching again because it's very live. So I don't think it was for Love Island specifically, like maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there's anything particularly special about that show. And I say that with deep love, but like, no, it's not a masterpiece of art, but it is special to have so many people like get into it. And I think that's why it became such a cultural behemoth, is because of the relationship with the fandom. So you kind of touched on when you got into Pretty Little Liars, you said by the end of it, you weren't hate watching it if you said you were a junior in college. Do you remember watching the first episode, or like what got you onto it in the first place?
I do remember watching the first episode. One of my cousins had read pretty much all the books, whatever was out at that point, and said, I really like this story. It's really interesting. And we have dabbled in the first 4 books, which were really good. I mean, for a YA book, they're really good. So we decided to, as a family and a friend unit, watch the premiere together, and then really loved the first season because they really do hook you. The first season really, I think, is a great first season of television. Second season, after the season 2 finale, I had my cousin tell me what happened in the books because we were figuring we don't care if anything got spoiled, because we assumed that the TV show would do it a little differently. So by like season 5, we were tired. We were tired. I was telling Michelle and Seth on our last episode that I literally had a Word document. Like I was an investigator. I was a detective of all the clues and things, because, and why at this point in my life, why was I so committed to figuring this out and reading people's series? I was obsessed in not a, in a, I would say it was a healthy way, but obsessed with figuring things out, even though I feel like I really didn't figure things out at all.
And were you on the online forums too? You were discussing it with other people?
I wasn't. I was a silent viewer of Reddit and forums. I was just seeing what people were saying, but I wasn't contributing my own opinions. But yet I was using those things to make my Word document. It's just so pathetic and stupid. It's so silly, but graduated from college. I was doing this after I was working.
It's such a difficult transition, I think, college into the working world, and something that people don't really talk about. And so having a connection to something that seems a lot more familiar was probably quite comforting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you were saying, so you watched it together with your family, like an intergenerational watch.
I watched it. I have one sister and we watched it together. My cousin, who is my sister's age, and then my other cousin, who is my age, and then my friend Ingrid, who is around my age. And so it was us. And then my mom did get involved. She liked to come and watch it with us, even though, she could go a couple of weeks without watching it. It's a typical mom thing, right? A typical boomer coming in. Oh,
Yeah.
this and this. Oh, Arya looks so
Who's
pretty.
this?
Oh, Ezra's so cute. I had asked my family during Thanksgiving of how they felt about Ezra and Arya when they first viewed the show, which obviously we have many thoughts about much later in life. And my mom was like, oh my God, Ezra, he was so cute. I'm like, of course, Mom, that's what you would say. You don't remember anything about his character, just the fact that Ian is so cute. She's like, oh, I remember them doing it tastefully. I'm like, Mom, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I do think, like, intergenerationally, there is a big difference between what is acceptable in relationships and what is not. And one of the things that has been very much changed over the thankfully, past few years is acceptable age gaps and how we navigate those, like, as a society. But I still think it was, at that point, it was very edgy at the least. But there's a lot of intergenerational lover couples going on. It's not just, as far as I remember, it's not just Arya and
it's not.
But I think as well in Gossip Girl it was too. It's an interesting dynamic and, like, something that I don't think defines Pretty Little Liars, but because it was a long-term relationship, I think is quite salient. Was it typical of the things that you were watching at the time? And Michelle as well, you said not at all.
Yeah, it's funny, like, our group of friends would get together and watch those shows in real time, which was very exciting. And so there's something to be said about the communal gathering of watching a show together, sitting next to each other, not being on your phones while the show is playing.
Yes.
Which I'm like,
so
very
frustrating.
much so frustrating. Like, put your phone down. Can we please be engaged in what we are viewing?
I find myself, my brain has rotted sufficiently now, find myself struggling to get through a full movie without looking at my phone. And I know how hideous that is. And I also know that studios are dumbing down their content because they know people aren't watching the films. So I know I'm contributing to the problem, but I'd love to talk about how you, like, combat that, because the pacing of Pretty Little Liars was really good and something you couldn't not watch.
Yeah, if we look down for a second, I'm like, Michelle, you missed the glance, you missed the photo, you missed this. I was talking about the black and white episode we were just referencing last week on our podcast, and I said, like, there was parts where I really could not put my phone down, and I said, like, why is that? That's so frustrating to me, because I'm supposed to be paying attention and I'm not. But yeah, it's just so frustrating to be in this time where everything is this instant gratification, and that the fact that shows are doing that dumbing down for the audience because they are expecting them to be on their phone. And, like, that shouldn't be it. That's so sad.
And I've lost interest as well in television, like long form television now, because I'm like, nothing's happening. And I guess you guys do promos on your socials, right? So I don't know whether you've done a lot of the research into how to, like, hook people in, but it is very creepy when people are like, oh yeah, so the first 3 seconds are the most important thing. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, my attention span is out the window.
Yeah. What's interesting is, like, we've been doing recap from a fan perspective podcast for 10 years now. And the landscape of podcasting has changed dramatically. Each show has had a different following when it comes to the social media platform. So, like, for instance, when we did One Tree Hill Talk, Twitter was where it was at.
We tried that again for the OC. Did not happen.
Didn't work. And then the We Are Liars fans want to see us on YouTube. And my brain cannot do these like quick. We are so overstimulated every single day. I don't need that. And so going back to like, why do we pick up our phone when we're watching something? My consumption is so much smaller than it used to be. Like I'm watching one show right now. Well, two, I guess. Tell Me Lies because it's back. And Big Brother. My husband and I are going through every season of Big Brother.
Oh, wow. That's a commitment.
Yeah. And like we're on season 9 right now and we have a document and we like take notes and stuff. So it's a project. And then I watch them. And then I have Pretty Little Liars. And then I have, I watch a movie once a week for the movie podcast. And that is it. Because that is all my brain can handle at this time in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a lot as well. Speaking of Wuthering Heights, they're talking about, you can't be in a house without books. And I was like, oh my God. That's the equivalent of being like, how do you live in a house without internet? We as humans adjust really quickly. Earlier this year, I promise this is relevant. I hate my birthday. And then this year, as my special treat to myself, I did like a dream trip where I crossed the desert on horseback in Namibia. And it was completely Wi-Fi free. This is really exposing. I went by myself. I didn't tell anyone on the trip that it was my birthday. So on the day of my birthday, I woke up. I was the only person who knew. You sleep outside every single night, like in a sleeping bag in the middle of the desert. You get up every day and you ride horses for hours and hours. But the most amazing thing is you don't touch your phone. I would listen to audiobooks because you're riding for 6 or 7 hours a day. And I'm not good at making small talk for that long. I adjusted so quickly to not having my phone and not having those notifications. And I felt even in that week like happier. But then as soon as you have the ability to be locked back in, you snap back so quickly. It's like going to the gym, right? Like you have to do it for yourself, but it's really, really hard. I love also that both of you have documents to rewatch shows with. Like you guys are fan women to the core. When you're in, you're in.
I was gonna say we are committed girls, and we're completists. We like to watch a show unless we absolutely hate it, like Riverdale. Don't know if you've dabbled in Riverdale. It's really tough. Other than that, we have completed every show that we have set out to watch.
And also on that, like what we were talking about, the communal watch, like I think at its core, our network in doing this has always been friendship and getting together once a week and being intentional about it and sitting together and experiencing something together.
I think we're all dying for community in whatever way, shape or form that it takes. And also, I don't know about you guys, but I live in London. And a lot of socializing, I feel, is based around an activity. And that activity is usually going to the pub. And I can't drink that much because I'm just like, I'm a failure to the English. I'm not good at drinking. I have one G&T and I'm wasted. Both of you have mentioned your Word document. In terms of like individually, as people, you are fan women. What do you think that reflects about your character and like who you are as a person?
It's funny because about a year ago, I was talking to my husband and we were in conversation with a new group of people and we were talking about hobbies. And I was like, I don't know what my hobby is. And Anthony, my husband, he goes, you get obsessed with a person and then you research them to the point where it's all you can talk about. It's like your hobby is people and who you're into at the time. And I was like very into Andy Kaufman, and then I got into Mila Nurmi, and then I was into Ed Wood. But it's all these people that no one really knows, but I'm like so fixated. Elizabeth Taylor was like the big one that took over.
Ooh.
Well, yeah. So anyway, that I don't know what that says about me, but I don't know why things interest me, but when they do, I go hard on it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
the same way. I love to make lists and then not go back and check, but I love to write down the physical list. So there was a point in my life, and I was that, and don't ask me why. And this is a very niche, stupid thing, but I would have to go and write the Tortured Poets Department songs in order. Don't ask me why I did that. Don't know why that was a thing. I don't know why I do things like that. I just need to write. It's like a challenge within myself. If I can, it's like a memory challenge. And I like to do that. And I like to do that with TV shows. And like, all right, I have to remember every single person's name. I'm like, they're going to tell me it. Like, why am I getting so obsessed with? So I guess
Does it give you relief?
yes, it does.
It's kind of not like an act of service, but a performance of commitment, like a reaffirmation of commitment.
Yes,
Of something
that's
that
exactly
you
what it is.
love. Like, I am committed enough to this art. Like, I need to prove that I know enough about it and I am this involved and it's changed me in this way. As someone who suffers from many compulsions, I think that's very normal. Like, so maybe I'm not the right audience for this because I'm like, no, that's totally normal, right? Well, I read something on like Substack recently about the fact that we as a society love to pathologize like little behaviors, like use it as a tool of self-deprecation and perform shame about something that is really, you know, it's just a quirk. And it's like
Right.
like we said, like it's a nice little thing that you do. When you started with your rewatch, because obviously you watched it at very different periods of your life, you're returning to it a few years later, what stuck out to you? What are the things that you experience very differently? We mentioned the age gap relationships, but were there other things that seemed a lot more salient on your second watch or your first watch, I suppose, Michelle?
I think you should start with what it was like for you to come back to a show that you reluctantly didn't want to do. You're not choosing to rewatch it for your own enjoyment. You're choosing to produce a show.
There have been people who have reached out and said, I love that you go so hard into analyzing the episode because there's something I definitely didn't see the first time I watched it. And I'm like, yeah, obviously the first time I watched it too. But to really go in and pinpoint character development and, you know, why would they choose this for this? And yeah, with the underage inappropriate relationships, I mean, every single episode there is probably at least 5 minutes that I'm going in on how much I can't stand Ezra Fitz, or just the fact that there just are random times that people kiss for no reason. Why are we adding that into a show that would never happen in real life? You know, you just meet like Arya goes to karate and she kisses her karate teacher, and you know Arya goes and tutors someone, so the tutor must kiss her. It's so stupid and frustrating because that would never happen in real life. Or maybe it does. I mean, we've asked people to write in, they haven't, because it doesn't happen.
No.
That doesn't happen.
Right.
You don't just meet someone on the street, hang out with them for a little bit, and then kiss and go, oh, I don't know why I did that. Yeah, you do. You do know why you did that because you're attracted to them. Just small things like that you don't notice as you're watching it to begin with, but when you're analyzing it, they get really old really quick. The best part is that Michelle doesn't know what's going to happen. So for me, it's the best part of the whole thing, hearing her predict what she thinks is going to happen.
Something that really stuck out to me is the motivations of the characters are very weak and ever-changing. And I think it's because the writers were forced, as we mentioned earlier, the writers were forced to be quite agile and they weren't afraid to go back on themselves or be like, oh, actually, it didn't happen this way. Like, for a lot of teen shows, I think the motivations are very questionable generally because I think teens don't really know what they're doing. Like when I was a teen, oh, someone wants to kiss me, so I'm going to kiss them back because I'm supposed to do that because I should be, especially like as a woman, like I should be so pleased that I'm being chosen and being given attention. Of course we're going to kiss because someone's attracted to me. But yeah, Michelle, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
It's hard because I think like if I chose to watch this series on my own, I would be binging it and I would be done with it by now. Because we started this in 22. So in
22.
September, it'll be 4 years of watching
Whoa.
this then that's a season a year, essentially.
Wow. That now that you just said that, wow. I
And
can't
so
believe it's been that long.
I know. And also I think because we've been doing this for so long, you're coming at it with like this producer headspace. I almost forget that I am watching PLL because to me it's such in like the this is business category. I enjoy it. I enjoy it way more than Gossip Girl. I will never rewatch Gossip Girl. I have no interest to rewatch Gossip Girl. I struggled with Gossip Girl. Not my show.
Their characters are just so unlikable. There's not one likable character.
Not enough for me to be
To
like,
rewatch
yeah,
it.
I miss you guys. Like a big thing about nostalgic teen dramas is like they're our friends. We miss them. They give us comfort. Gossip Girl, no, I don't love any of you guys. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. People wrote in and they're like, wow, these girls hate this show. From that moment on, we have taken that perspective of like, oh, okay, maybe we are a little too harsh, a little too negative, even though I still stand by everything we said about Chuck Bass and Blair Waldorf. Like, they're awful people. They're terrible. Then don't even get me started with that last season and the finale. Spoiler, we wasted all this time for that.
What's funny is you said, it's 4 years of the show. I forget because seasons come out all at once now.
Right.
They don't give you that opportunity to have like a prolonged investment with a character. So your relationship to the characters is so different because over 4 years, you change a lot as well.
Yeah.
But also it makes you, I think, a lot more forgiving of their flaws because so much happens in a week that from one episode to the next, you've kind of forgotten how they had made you feel in the last episode. Whereas now if you're watching it back to back, you're like, this is ridiculous because you're talking about all the different teen dramas that you guys are into. What is it about the genre that you think is so compelling?
Nostalgia, I guess you will.
The ancient texts.
Right. I think it's just that was so prominent in our life and what was happening growing up for us that it's just nostalgia, and to go back to a time where things were easier, and then listeners go and they rewatch the show and like, oh, right, where was I at this time when I was watching this show? But they all have the same kind of themes. It's like once you've seen one, you kind of expect there to be, you know, this pregnancy scare or kissing her professor. So it's safe in a way. What do you think, Michelle? Why do we keep going back here?
I think, like you said, like we grew up watching these. They're part of us becoming people, and they're comforting to go back to these people. I should speak for myself. Like, I love Friends. I love Frasier. It is a comfortable time to revisit. And also, I think, again, we're longing for the time before social media took over our lives.
Yep.
But that's my personal feeling towards it.
And to go back to social media, Pretty Little Liars was the first time, like I said before, like that was the first time I ever really saw people on the internet talking about a show I was watching. The actors in the show and them talking about it and them what they're shooting and shooting the first episode, shooting the last episode. You could really see the behind the scenes that was happening at that point.
Yeah, versus having to go search for it, because when the OC was on, I was on blogs and like fan forums, the writers were very much influenced by what the forums were saying.
One of the things that you touched on there in terms of how the fans and the actors and the writers all interacted is seeing the behind the scenes. And one of the things I'm obviously very invested in is how parasocial relationships and like digital intimacy affects how you consume media nowadays and how you relate to the characters and the phenomena itself, like the storyline, everything around it.
I think that Michelle and I both together are, I mean, I have to say very grounded in the fact that we understand that these are people and they live their lives, and they should be respected, and as much as they put out there, that's, you know, their own choice. But do I have this instinct or this like innate feeling in me to be like, I need to know them or I need to talk to them? I don't. And I think we're in the same in that way. And we have interviewed a bunch of actors from the shows that we have podcasted about, and at the end of the day, we say to ourselves, like, everyone's got to poop, like everyone's normal.
Everyone poops. Everyone poops.
Everyone's got to take a poop sometimes, and that just, you humanize them because they're human. And so it's so sad to me to watch some of these actors and celebrities have people who just are so invasive in their life or just expect things from them. For instance, I'm just throwing it out there, Lucy Hale. How come you're not dating Ian? It's like, well, because they're coworkers that don't have a romantic relationship. So why are we commenting that? That's just so crazy to me that someone would be so invasive and comment that. And then you could be a troll and no one will know who you are and you could say whatever you want. And the fact that that's where our world has gone is just really sad. And so I like to think that Michelle and I are above that parasocial relationship to an extent. I mean, there are definitely influencers out there that I feel I gravitate towards a little bit more because maybe I could see them being a friend, not to me, but I could see us getting along in some sense. But I don't think I would ever reach out to them. That's just not me. So
yeah.
I agree with that. More so for me, I'm a traditionalist in the sense of podcasting. I love the audio form. I don't watch podcasts. I don't gravitate towards video. There's podcasters I very much love and feel like they're my friends, as I'm using air quotes, but not enough where I'm going to approach it. It's just that they bring me comfort.
It's a difficult line to walk to mediate between, this person has brought me comfort, but I also don't feel entitled to share my opinion on their choices.
Correct.
In the way that I would with other friends. I have very much, like, in difficult times of my life, I've moved to countries, for instance, where I don't speak the same language as everyone else, and I felt very lonely and I've had no friends. And I'll listen to podcasters, particularly those who are friends, so exactly like you guys, and it feels like you're sitting at a table with other people, and it's very comforting. And so, it's a really difficult line to walk, that to rely on two people emotionally in that way, or like seek them for comfort, but have to like police yourself in knowing, oh, these people don't know who I am. It's something that I don't think a lot of people consider because you're not taught to consider it. Social media has ramped up so much in the past few years that we haven't had regulations and guardrails around how you use it.
Me up, it trips lists up. We have a couple listeners who'll be like, remember when you said blah, blah, blah. Or remember that time when you went to the store and bought X because I mentioned it. And I was like let me tell you, we get off the episode. I have no idea what I said until I edit it. Then it's gone.
Which relationships, if any, did you, in Pretty Little Liars, actually condone and thought were like, what elements of it were healthy, constructive, and a good example for young women watching?
Yeah, that was tough. Growing up, watching the show, I'm proud of myself. I was never into the Arya Ezra relationship, and still to this day I'm not. Back in the day, I really enjoyed Hannah and Caleb's relationship. I felt they had a really good friendship, and he was extremely supportive and protective of her, and for the most part, they were very honest and truthful to each other. If I had to choose, which the couples really aren't great, I guess I would choose Hannah and Caleb. Right? I don't know, they're like reused and recycled at this point. Like everything is the same with them, and you're just kind of waiting for them to get out of the rut and honestly get out of high school, because the high school really keeps them sheltered and held back with relationships. And so when they do jump forward to being out of high school, it's a little bit better because they at least can date people who are appropriate for them in a way, because I guess they're illegal at that point. Honestly, I would happy for all the girls to be single. Like, just be single.
Same.
Obviously, would be less drama and less screen time, but it would be easier to just focus on the plot of who is A and Allie and all that stuff.
When you were younger, did it shape your expectations of like social dynamics, high school relationships, if you went to college, what college was like, your family? Because I remember when I was in high school, my boyfriend at the time was like, I have never watched reality TV, so I don't know how a relationship works. And I was like, but it speaks to how much the media that you consume actually feeds into your expectations of like how to act and how to react and how to treat each other. So was that something that you
Yeah.
came up against, and anything that you want to tell younger listeners maybe about how to mediate those expectations?
I told my mom this, and I feel like back when I was very young, there was a lot of stuff going on in my house. And so, therefore, I was always behind a closed door watching TV or watching movies. And
Yeah.
that quite literally shaped me of who I am and how I do view relationships, because I didn't really have a mold of that in my house. And so, watching those movies and TV, I expected there to be this like epic romance for me, love at first sight, all these things that you think are going to happen to you as a young adult. And like, I have to say, I was a really good kid, and I didn't truly venture out with devious behavior, if you will. So I feel like I was sheltered in a way because I just sat and watched TV and movies, and like, that's not real life. And I also find that it did make me a little bit less social in my life too. Yeah, 100% changed my view on what my life was going to be, and the fact that my life did not turn out that way was very surprising to me. And it wasn't until I was like maybe in high school and college that I was saying to myself, "Oh wow, you really didn't know. You had no clue of how life was going to be," which I'm sure a lot of young people have that feeling of thinking their life is going to go one way and completely doesn't go that way at all.
Wow, that question has me racking my brain. I was very much someone who was attracted to comedy and The Simpsons and Malcolm in the Middle and making skits. I was more seeking like friendships that I could make stuff with. Like, I don't think I had a view of how relationships should be. I just was looking for people to make stuff with.
I can vouch for her as an adult. She's still the type of person that's like, let's make a friend. And I'm like, I'm good with my friends. Like, I'm good with my small little friends. Michelle's like, let's talk to this person. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, we're just at the core, still the same little girls I think that we once were.
That's a great energy to bring. I similarly am not. I've got a very, I think, friendly looking face. Thank you. But it doesn't help me out because I am actually like not a very friendly person. Like I think when I'm interacting with someone, when I'm interacting with someone, I'm like, I'm enjoying it. But to get over the hurdle of that, like I feel like I'm very introverted. And it does make my mom laugh, especially because people will approach me often in like a store to be like, oh, what do you think about these shoes? Should I get them or whatever? And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm so sorry. Like I wouldn't say that to someone. But it just happens all the time. When I moved to Dubai, which was the last city that I lived in, I bought a pair of overhead headphones so people would stop talking to me because I was like out and about, and it's the time I recharge. God bless. When I'm with people, love it, enjoy it. But when I'm by myself, I very much enjoy my alone time. You can't see I've got quite like textured Hermione Granger hair, especially in the humidity of Dubai. If I have my AirPods in, you can't see. And so people would stop me and try to talk to me. I'd be in a cab. God bless the people trying to make conversation. So I bought these headphones, and then people would motion for me to take off my headphones. And I was like,
no,
I don't know what I can do. And my partner is definitely one of those people who loves to make a friend, like out on the street. I feel like those shy children that like stand behind their parent and like look away when someone talks to them. Yep. That's me and my partner. Like I'm like tugging on his like jumper, like, please can we go home?
Oh God, that's so funny. I feel your pain. I feel your pain so much because I also sympathize and feel I am very similar to you. And what has really helped me though, and I'm actually really happy and proud to say it, is podcasting, because you do have to constantly be talking to others and interviewing people and being interested in what they're saying. And that has honestly really helped with my introvert sense, or like my feeling of not being a people person. I really have become more of an extroverted person, but I feel you, like, oh God, just being alone. And then if someone comes up to you like, can you remove, like, no, this is me time.
Someone once did that to me in my therapist's waiting room, and I was like,
What?
sir, like, I'm trying so, like, this is obviously not the time and the place. I guess I just, like, have one of those faces. Season 4, the storylines are pretty out there, one would say. Do you have a particular storyline that you would like to vent about? And also, what do you think that says about the show and the style of the show itself?
I'm just gonna be the Ezra hater that I am. I can't not bring up.
Well, me too. You know, we
this
both
devil's
hate him.
name. But where we currently are at in season 4, and if you haven't, obviously skip out now. But I'm going to say that the fact that Ezra Fitz knew Allie, knew she was underage, knew that Arya was also underage, sought her out, didn't expect to fall in love with her. This whole thing irks me to my... I love it because I love to take down Ezra Fitz. Like, I want him to burn in hell. I don't want anything happy to happen to him. I will die on that hill of Ezra Fitz will never ever be redeemable in my eyes, even though the show will for sure try to redeem him. It's just not redeemable. Also, the fact that Allie is alive and that she gets saved by supernatural entity, which there was no supernatural entity on the show whatsoever. So that whole, I will die on that hill as well. I will never live that down. I'm sorry. I can't.
When I was watching
4,
the summary,
that was revealed.
when it came up that she was buried alive, what I found so funny in this specific summary, I'll link it in the show notes, is this gentleman goes, obviously he was very pressed for time, it was an hour-long summary of 7 seasons. It was very well done. But he goes, Allie is saved by a psychic. And I was like, what do you mean? And then it was never addressed ever again. And I was like, surely there's something that I'm missing. But now you're telling me, like, oh, there's this supernatural entity that just appears and then never is mentioned again. I'm like, applause to this man who did this summary, because there was no tone, there was no joking about it. You know what I mean? He just, like, very quickly was like, and then she's dug up.
They do whatever they please on this show. And that's what was the most frustrating part about watching it in its entirety. Yeah.
But also very funny. You were like, oh, I had a document, like a running document, putting together all the clues. And that's so funny, considering the fact that you just basically said, like, the writers just pick up and put down
so
elements of the storyline of clues. So you could pull together a full collection of clues. Only half of those are going to be relevant. They're just kind of like red herrings everywhere. So it's very earnest of you, and it's very trusting that you put together this full, like, running document. It kind of reminded me of, like, the magical realism of Jane the Virgin, if you've ever watched that. But obviously Jane the Virgin was very self-aware insofar as it was making fun of all of the fantastical things that were happening. The narrator in it, like, isn't this so silly? Haha. But that's how they managed to get over that. And what I find really funny about Pretty Little Liars is it's told with such a straight face. And I was wondering whether you guys think that there's ever a break in, like, the characters or the storytelling where they kind of acknowledge how insane the storytelling is.
Honestly, I don't think they know. I don't think they know how bad it is. We have talked about how certain actors maybe are like, okay, I'm phoning it in now because whatever I'm saying is so ridiculous. The dialogue is so cringy constantly. They're saying things that don't need to progress the storyline. I really don't think that they knew how cringe and how bad it was then.
How insane
I really
it was.
I really don't think so. I thought they thought that they were hitting the nail on the head. They thought this was really exciting. People were into it. I would love to talk to maybe some writers.
There's such a camp element to it.
It's so campy.
And
a soap opera, basically, with kids.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I can't get over what we talked about. You start looking at this as a film noir and you're like, oh yeah, okay. This feels very campy. But was that the
Right.
intention of the writers? Not sure.
I like to believe that the writers were sitting in there like, you know, like hands on their knees laughing, like and then
so ridiculous.
like,
Watch this.
and then a psychic pulls her out of the ground, but we never talk about it. But I don't think it was that self-aware.
No, it wasn't.
It's kind of a time capsule in terms of the fashion. Why do they all look like they're about to go to the office and they're in high school? I was like, those side parts are crazy. But also the statement jewelry, the pencil skirts at 6 a.m. and like Arya's wearing full stilettos to school. For what reason? So do you have any thoughts on like having the rewatch, or did it inspire your style when you were younger? What are your thoughts?
Like I said, I was in college, so I remember at the clubs, not that I was a frequent flyer, but we were wearing like blazers and peplum shirts, and like we were wearing these things. That's a time I never want to go back to ever. They were always dressed like they were going to the office, or like, for instance, in last week's episode, Arya's dress just had bones on it. I mean, like the fashion is wild. It was just a time capsule, as you said, a very, very specific niche little time capsule. Every week we're like, what are these girls wearing? Oh my God, it's terrible. Like this past week, everyone was wearing metallic.
Yeah.
It was a lot going on.
It just doesn't make sense because they're in Pennsylvania. Gossip Girl made sense because look at the location and the lifestyle those characters were living. So if Blair's wearing stilettos and Serena's wearing the heel, okay, but you're in Pennsylvania in high school. We're always wearing the heels within their houses.
Yes.
Like Hannah will be in her kitchen and she's like fully dressed with the heel on. Nobody's wearing the heel in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? You get home, you take the shoes off. It's just not happening. You don't wear any heels while you're cooking.
I think Emily and Spencer's wardrobe are the most believable. Like Spencer is like straight up a J. Crew catalog.
Yes.
Emily is just, she's more relaxed, but Hannah and Arya, their outfits are just all over the place, and always heels, and always Arya's humongous necklaces that I'm sure weigh like 1,000,000 pounds, and she's a little petite girl. Like it's just too much going on.
Looking at the summaries, I was like, especially in quick succession, I was like, these outfits are crazy. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen on Instagram, the 2026 is the new 2016, and people are sending, please, if anyone's listening to this, please do not do this to me, sending photos of me and them in college in 2016, and I want to vomit. I'm like, what was I doing at that time? And all of my favorite outfits are like hideous, and fashion is cyclical, so maybe it will come back. But some of the outfits are insane. Genuine last question. I swear to God. Who is your celebrity crush?
Adam Brody, forever and always.
That's a good one.
Seen that coming.
Oh, that's a good one.
Is that continuing in Nobody Wants This?
Yeah, except I haven't watched season 2.
You know what? I'm going to say Joshua Jackson.
Oh, yes, Liz. Good. I love that.
Joshua Jackson has forever Pacey Witter in my heart, and he continues to just impress me with how Silver Fox he's become and how sweet and genuine, and he just seems like a nice dude. So again, I don't know him. He could be an asshole. I don't know. But he seems nice, and I think he's very, very handsome.
Yeah.
Sorry for the uninformed. Who is this person?
Oh, Joshua Jackson. He played Pacey Witter on Dawson's Creek. Check him out if you haven't. Because
if you're out there, Mr. Jackson, if you're listening.
This is a question that Liz and I ask almost every person we speak with.
Nice, Michelle. Nice.
We would love to know, if you were a type of pasta noodle, what kind of noodle would you be?
Ooh, good one.
Not to put you on the spot.
Right.
I've been getting really into cooking lasagnas for people recently.
Ooh.
But I don't like the idea of being like a big, big flat noodle.
A big flat noodle.
A big flat noodle. That sounds like a
Who's
slur.
That's true.
Like you like lasagna, but you're layered and you're complex, and there's so much to you as a person. And so I
There
think
we
that's
go.
actually pretty beautiful.
Thank you so much for spinning that. You should be in the writer's room of Pretty Little Liars. With that talent, it's wasted on me. It's wasted on me.